have you ever seen a collection of such good individual defensive players in a collective like the Thunder?
Yeah. I mean, I would say like the 04-05 Pistons, that like era of the Chauncey, everyone defended. That was what made them so terrifying. Was that like Rip was probably their worst defensive player, and he wasn't bad, right? So
he was annoying.
The part that makes them different is that everyone's an offensive threat. Not only are they all great defensively, they're all offensive threats.
Sound like you're talking about the Panthers
Isn't
right now.
that the evolution of the game, though? Because I thought about this the other day with, like, Aaron Nesmith. Like, it used to be, if you wanted that kind of crazy comeback, like, it's got to be all on Tracy McGrady. Hey, Tracy, you're amazingly talented. You go. Now it could be any of these guys because you can't really have a deficiency without it being exposed when you're out there, right? So not only do you have to be a good defender, but you got to be able to shoot because otherwise they're just going to leave you in the corner. It just ruins everything when you have an obvious shortcoming, like even, the Miami Heat where the Cleveland Cavaliers say, oh, just pick on Tyler Hero. It bleeping works because he's not a, two-way player. And so the game just evolves and evolves and evolves, and then you have so many of these guys who don't have any holes in their game, and they're all on the Thunder. And a few are on the Pacers.
This is what I would say. Much like when people say, oh, you know what's in now? Big threes. Well, you know what's out now?
What does that mean?
Because like people thought like, oh, because they had a big three, everyone wanted.
Oh, big three. I thought you meant like big three-pointers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. So, and then when they say that, I say, no, that's not a thing that's in now. We've always wanted as many great players as we can. It's really hard to do that.
Right.
Same thing here. Yeah, I don't think this is an evolution so much as, we always want it, but it's like it's really hard to field an entire roster like that. To your point, that the guy who would do what Nesmith did back in the day, well, if it wasn't Tracy McGrady, it'd be someone like Eddie House. Meaning, like, this guy can catch fire any moment, but also Eddie's not going to be able to lock up the best player.
That's what I mean by the evolution. There's just more of them that you can literally fill an entire roster of players like that and still have more for the other league or for the other teams in the league.
I mean, forgive me because I'm obviously the novice NBA fan, but isn't like the Oklahoma City Thunder roster composition in large part because of the Paul George trade?
That's a million trades, good trades that they made.
Yeah, it's been a while. So there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, yes. The short answer is yes. The longer answer is but it took a lot of steps. So,
but was it like, did they have, because in football it's like you build a roster. It's either you draft like great or you have a bunch of draft picks, and it's like
and
your ability to. Did they have the increased draft picks or like?
So the way it happened, they traded Paul George for Sabonis and Victor Oladipo. And then Sabonis was then traded for Tyrese Halliburton.
They also got picks from that Russell Westbrook trade.
I was going to say.
So there's a lot of stuff Indiana did over time to get us to where we are here.
Right.
But yes, you could point to Paul George, like them trading Paul George was the start of what got us here. But that was what, 8 years ago?
Mm-hmm. But they also had the luxury of being like, in the NFL, you're not saying, hey, we'll take these guys, we'll see if they work out, we're going to be terrible for a couple of years, that's fine. They were pretty bad for a little bit and then sort of picked out. They did make good picks. Because they weren't all like strikeouts and only a few of them worked out. So they make more good picks than they didn't, but it was all about just having the option.
Hold on a minute. Were we just talking about the Paul George trade with Indiana or the Paul George trade with Oklahoma City? Because you brought up Sabonis.
He's asking me how Indiana got here.
I thought he was talking about how the Oklahoma City Thunder got here. Because both teams traded Paul George and it made both of them better.
It was confusing.
Yeah, Jeremy back here were like, the Sabonis on the Thunder.
I don't remember that.
Sabonis was on the Thunder.
Yeah.
Halliburton.
But yeah, okay, so to go back.
OKC,
yes, absolutely the Paul George thing set it off because Paul George, first of all, gave him SGA. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
That's how they got SGA. Mm-hmm. But then they got a zillion picks, which, by the way, not done yet. We're still getting picks.
5 first-rounders.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's absolutely helped them tremendously.
And they hit on both of them, right? Like great draft picks and more draft picks.
It's crazy that they have draft picks that they hit on that aren't there anymore.
Well, they won the Paul George trade both by the draft picks and the player.
Right.
Because SGA's
and that's MVP. The rare one where it's like we traded for a better player.
They hit on so many good draft picks that they were able to trade Josh Giddey, who's a really good and productive player, for a role player in Alex Caruso because they knew they could just fill out the rest of their roster.
Who fits even better on their team.
He fits even better. That's why they made the move. But that's what I think. The reason why people are so frustrated with Oklahoma City and SGA and the whole thing is it not only feels like, man, they didn't really have to like suffer through the postseason. They had to suffer as a franchise because they were horrible for years. But this specific group of players hasn't really had to like suffer in the postseason.
Well, I mean,
and we know that they've got all these future picks too, so they're going to be good for all of these years in the future. And I think there's a lot of fans looking at it that might be, whether you're the Knicks, whether you're Minnesota, and you're looking at your team and you're going, man, we got a lot of guys in their prime. They're like, we're only going to be good
Where's
for so
his
long.
theme music?
Where are they going to go?
So I was gonna say his takes hit a lot harder when there's no Doug theme music playing over top of them.
Yeah.
But they also get a lot less tolerable. I realized I was just trying to cut you off.
Yeah,
Like,
just
stop
shut up, I get
talking.
it.
You don't want to sit in it as long.
But if the music was playing, I would have let you talk forever. I was ready to go. But I think so. For instance, I'll give you exactly what they got for him. Right? They got Danilo Gallinari that then flipped somewhere else. They got Shea. They got a first-round pick that turned into Trey Mann, who's really good for Charlotte now. They got a first-round pick that turned into Jalen Williams, All-Star. They got a first-round pick that turned into Jaime Jaquez, who's in Miami now. And a first-round pick turned into Dylan Jones, who in a couple of years is going to be good. And then they still have the option to flip-flop picks this year. And then they also have a first-round pick next year coming from that trade.
You know, I asked Amin this yesterday on Oddball, Monday through Thursday. Would Oklahoma City Thunder fans rather?
Oh yeah.
Right now, obviously, they're favorites for the next 2 rounds. This is the best position they've been in to win a championship, maybe since 2012. You could argue they were favored going into those finals or not. Or go in a time machine to 2016 and KD never leaves. Because the projection being they're probably going to win a championship or 2 if he stays. Maybe that's a more fun team to watch. You still got Russell and KD, and there's no guarantee you win it this year. You're just going to be favored. Do you think Thunder fans would stick with what they have now or go back to them? Because me, as a fan of that basketball, I'd 100% go back to KD.
I think they keep this iteration.
Really? That's what I mean.
I think KD, Westbrook, and Harden was the sacrificial lamb to get them to where they are now.
That's almost exactly what Amin said.
Because you look at what they have going up in the future too, and the players that they already have kind of underneath in the program. It's like why would you go back and keep KD? For what reason?
There was already a lot of tension in 2016, is what I talked about. Like, it's already was starting to feel like, man, I don't know if this is ever going to work because of that collection.
Yeah, but those Thunder fans would say, if you give me anything, my choice, let me keep KD. Take everybody else. We'll build around KD. Go ahead, Russell Westbrook. Go ahead, Billy Donovan. I got another 15 years of maybe the most talented scorer ever. That guy's got to win a title.
I also think KD's evolution, personality-wise, over the years versus what we see SGA now, they're like, I think I like this guy better. If you're Oklahoma, just from a personality, like this is a guy who's
Oklahoma fans are still NBA fans. They love drama, man. I think they'd love. They love.
They all
KD.
wear the same shirt. You think they love drama?
I hate that.
They all wear the same damn shirt.